after a long, grueling summer of matches, and now with Mid-Atlantic legends Donnie Kernodle and Johnny Weaver himself in attendance, the Johnny Weaver Cup Finals boil down to how appropriate two of the greatest pure wrestlers in the Mid-Atlantic today. It's the old age story of teacher versus student, as Gemini Kid, a 20-plus year veteran, is wrestling maybe his biggest match ever against none other than his student, El Fuego, Jesse Ortega.
Yeah, but you can't sell the student short to the teacher. The student is also the defending Weaver Cup champion, winning the tournament in 2005. This could be one of the most entertaining scientific matches you will ever see anywhere, so don't go anywhere.
It's actually the very first singles match ever. Of course, they've had a lot of sparring sessions, training sessions between one another, but as far as live, actual wrestling matches, when there was something on the line and you had to win, we have never seen these two men mentally or physically have to prepare for one another.
Yeah, talk about something on the line. These two guys are grappling right now for the Weaver Cup. This is the third annual. This is the final of a summer-long tournament. It has been nothing short of spectacular like the previous two, and we're looking for fireworks in this match, even though these guys are basically friends.
And let's not forget, both of these guys have already had to wrestle a match tonight. Gemini Kid was victorious in a very grueling match against a very handsome man, Mitch Connor, via the King Cobra submission. Now that match went some 15 minutes anyway. Jesse Ortega's match was a little shorter, but certainly just as hard hitting, in about 10 minutes or so against Joey Sylvia.
And you know how this is going to go. I mean, both men coming into the match knowing what they're fighting for. I mean, it's all about the cup. Having Johnny Weaver stand out here beside you, present you the trophy. Ortega's tasted it before, but I mean, what are they willing to do? I mean, we're seeing wrestling. I mean, neither man's lost their temper at this point. I mean, this is beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of catches. Can, I suspect, as Gemini Kid has Jesse Ortega back into the ropes. Of course, we'll get a... Well, I was going to say, I thought we'd get a clean break there, but Gemini taking advantage, twisting the arm of Ortega, got a little bit of lucha libre type action going. Two pros at that, and Ortega with the arm, and Gemini Kid goes right to the floor, and he can only probably almost look up and almost kind of laugh at his student getting the upper hand on him.
Well, you know, I'm sure that for Gemini Kid, the 20-plus years he's had in the business, what that does is this gives him an idea of a different way to attack, or you know, how not to attack Ortega. Now, we're still seeing signs of friendship. Nobody's mad. I mean, this is a great thing.
Yeah, it's almost a no-lose situation for us here as fans, because you know, regardless of the winner, it's going to be a great representative for the Weaver Cup.
Yeah, as Ortega was in the past year. I mean, anywhere he was asked to show up, I mean, he was showing up everywhere across the Mid-Atlantic. Right now, he's showing up all the way around the entire body. And look at this, going for the arm.
Jesse Ortega was going to work on the arm there, the Fujiwara, and Gemini Kid got that bottom rope with his foot and backing away. Gemini Kid's actually backtracked more than I would say he normally would. I'm sure he's just looking for his opening, jockeying for position against El Fuego at this point.
Well, right now, he's probably trying to figure out exactly how much El Fuego's willing to lay on the line against him. And right now, here we go back to the Fujiwara.
Certainly going for the Fujiwara again. Jesse Ortega not wasting any time in this one, but Gemini Kid is such a smart wrestler. He can reverse almost out of everything and hook the opposite arm. And now look at this. Twisting away on the arm and the neck. Oh, Ortega though reverses, rolls through, catches the leg, and right back to the arm goes Ortega.
He's trying to get the arm, Jesse Ortega attacking the arm, and Gemini Kid trying to roll away, put the arm under. But Ortega's got the arm again.
He's not able to get his full body weight and really pry back on the Fujiwara, but it's certainly sending a very strong message to Gemini Kid, and Gemini Kid going to the floor again.
Well, that's a smart veteran move. I mean, he knows he's got the count here. The referee's going to keep the count going as long as Ortega remains in the ring, and I don't think at this point Ortega would try to come out of the ring after him.
No, I don't expect this match to go to the floor at all, but I did see almost a look of frustration on the face of Ortega from Gemini. Rather than staying in the ring and trying to reverse it like you customarily would expect from Gemini going to the floor and using the ropes to break it, which...
Yeah, it is quite uncharacteristic of him, but he may be trying to get, this may be a psychological ploy against his student. Ortega's known for his temper. He may be trying to get him to lose his temper.
As frustrating as Ortega looked when Gemini went to the floor, Gemini looks almost as frustrated not being able to really get one up on a student.
And right now it has been pretty even to this point. We've seen a lot of scientific wrestling. Notice we said scientific wrestling. You may not see that on some of the entertainment programs that are aired across the country these days. So welcome to CWF Mid-Atlantic, and we're bringing the eyes of the world back to the Mid-Atlantic. This is why.
Well, now I don't understand this at all, Randolph. Gemini just went to the floor again. Ortega didn't have him locked in anything that time. He didn't have him locked in any form of submission. Now Gemini Kid looking down at the Weaver Cup that awaits the victor of this contest.
And this is totally uncharacteristic. You got to wonder what's going through the mind of Gemini Kid. He's down here staring at the cup. He makes his way back in the ring. Jesse Ortega waiting. He grabs hold of the arm first thing. I mean, we know what we're trying to set him up for.
Gemini looks very upset, fighting towards the ropes and scurrying to the ropes. I've watched probably 100 Gemini Kid matches in my lifetime, and I never seen him out-wrestled by anyone ever. And it's almost like Gemini Kid is getting mad at the fact that so far at this point, Ortega's out-wrestling him.
Yeah, but look at this. Everything Gemini tries, Ortega pretty much has been able to reverse it, even though there's a counter-reversal. Now, Gemini with the upper hand gets backed into the ropes again. I mean, Ortega's finding a way out of almost everything Gemini can throw at him.
The referee now physically having to separate both Ortega and Gemini. Gemini a little shove to the official there.
Here we go, back to the arm, back to the Fujiwara, but Gemini Kid drapes himself across the ropes.
Well, honestly, Randolph, I've never seen Gemini Kid make this blatant use of a ropes during a contest. Yes, maybe occasionally you will use the ropes to break it, but I mean, Ortega's barely getting anything, and Gemini Kid is shooting straight to the rope to save himself.
Yeah, Gemini Kid is now wrestling this part of the match right here around the ropes. I mean, it's almost as if he's terrified of being in the center of the ring with Ortega. I mean, he's got him locked up down here on the canvas, but we're in the corner. We're right here at the ropes. How convenient.
Well, Ortega wasn't going to the ropes, though, to free himself. Ortega simply reversed his way out of it. And I'm almost starting to wonder, did the teacher teach the student a little too well?
Well, maybe the student learned more of what the teacher taught than any other student has retained.
Gemini Kid, once again, back to the ropes and pulling himself free from the clutches of Jesse Ortega. Ortega was going to break it anyway. Gemini Kid didn't have to hang on to that bottom rope like it was a lifeline.
Well, I tell you, I don't know what to think. Gemini Kid goes right back in. The aggressor, he's shoving the chin of Ortega up, got him in here, got his head set up on him, and now the referee calls for the break. And look at the look on Ortega's face.
In the semifinal round, Gemini Kid flat out wrestled Mitch Connor. Mitch Connor, an incredible wrestler. Gemini Kid out-wrestled him, won the match. Gemini Kid, trying the same tactics here, is having such little success against Ortega, it's almost like it's eating away at him. It's driving him crazy that he can't actually out-wrestle his student.
And I tell you, Gemini Kid got both hands up, offers the shake a hand again. Ortega takes it. I mean, you got to wonder what's going through the minds of both of these men. This is quite uncharacteristic for Gemini Kid. Beautiful stretch.
I mean, I personally have been lucky to be there for some of their sparring sessions and training, and I've never seen Gemini Kid, it's a kind of catch-as-catch-can, back and forth, but more often than not, Gemini Kid is the one that ends up on top in those contests.
And here we go, another break caused by the ropes when Jesse goes for a Fujiwara. Gemini Kid back out to the floor holding that arm again, but I mean, I'm telling you, he's wrestling right at the rings. This match has, since the midpoint, has stayed with Gemini Kid at the ring ropes ring, always within hand's grasp.
Well, Ortega has employed that Fujiwara a good half a dozen to probably 10 times or so far in this contest, and each and every time he does, Gemini Kid goes straight to the ropes and breaks any form of momentum that Ortega's built up.
And yeah, that is exactly what he's doing. Every time he goes out to the floor, it's breaking the concentration and the momentum. Look at this, Ortega up and over the top rope, but he didn't go to the floor.
Gemini just sailed straight into the side of the head of Ortega with a knee, almost like a shining wizard through the ropes, but no one home the second time.
Uh-oh. Look at this, Ortega up and over, drops across Gemini Kid. Kid down in the corner. Ortega goes for the cover, but the referee's not going to allow it.
Well, I can't really blame Gemini Kid for that one, because of course he was going to be in the ropes when the cover was made, but question him going straight back to the outside. I mean, that was the first high-impact maneuver that either man has ever even hit in this contest, and as soon as it happens, Gemini's back on the outside of the ring.
Yeah, Gemini staggers back to his feet, holding himself up on the ring apron. I mean, this is becoming the most questionable match I have ever seen Gemini Kid involved in. I mean, is he sick? Is he injured? What's going on?
You know, I almost want to say that maybe that match with Mitch Connor took a little too much out of him, but now Ortega going to the outside with the Lucha Roll, grabbing the arm on Gemini, who sells into some ringsiders here at the CSA.
Oh my goodness, kids, don't try this at home. Ortega fired up, got the fans behind him, and they're all questioning, asking the same questions we are. What is going on in the head of Gemini Kid right now? This has been most uncharacteristic of him. Now this thing has gone to the concrete, which we said earlier would never happen.
Well, what a forearm blast by Ortega. Ortega, I think, has gotten fed up with Gemini going to the outside of the ring. In any other case, I'd say this is almost disrespectful to your trainer, but who can blame Jesse Ortega under these conditions with what's at stake?
Well, Jesse's just giving back what's been fed to him. I thought he was going to grab the chair, and he was just moving the chair out of the way. But the people on the bleachers got the right idea of getting out of the way. Now here we go, they're going back towards the ring. And Gemini just about out on his feet, climbing back into the ring as a refuge from Ortega.
I have so much respect for Gemini Kid, I don't want to say he's running, but it seems like wherever Ortega goes, Gemini Kid is headed in the opposite direction.
Well, I don't want to say it's running either, but if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Gemini Kid very smartly had that scouted from Ortega as he came in, and now Gemini Kid going to work on the leg and ankle of Ortega. We've seen Gemini Kid employ the STF submission many times over the years, and you got to think that's exactly what he's trying to work on here.
Yeah, he's definitely stretching the hamstrings in the wrong direction of Ortega. Ortega in a world of hurt, having difficulty fighting his way back. He can't get hold of anything, a part of Gemini or the ropes.
Really, for the first time in this contest, Gemini has Ortega in a precarious position, and Gemini Kid looks shocked by the reaction of these fans.
I'll tell you, I'm kind of shocked by the reaction too, but I mean, from what we've seen so far tonight in this finals match for the Weaver Cup, I mean, I'm a little more than perplexed here.
Well, who can blame Jesse Ortega? Who can blame the fans for almost cheering for Ortega, because Ortega's taking the fight right to Gemini? That's what these fans want to see. They don't want to see someone that's headed in the opposite direction.
Right now, Jesse Ortega, look at this, a handful of referee for Gemini Kid because he can't reach the ropes as Ortega's locking his legs up, attacking a different area.
Gemini Kid rolling around to his stomach, and now Ortega going for Gemini's SDF.
Oh my goodness, now he is close to the ropes. Gemini's able to reach out, grab the ropes. Referee calls for the break. Ortega's going back for the Fujiwara.
Going right back to the Fujiwara, but once again, how many times has Gemini Kid used the bottom rope to break something up, whether it be a pinfall or a submission?
Look, was that a closed fist to the chops there by Gemini Kid?
I just... A lot of what I'm seeing, I almost don't want to believe I'm seeing it, because that's not the Gemini Kid that we've grown to know and love over the past few years. I mean, yes, right now he is wrestling, but he's done a lot of things in this contest that certainly I wouldn't necessarily consider wrestling.
Yeah, quite questionable to say the least. Right now, Ortega fighting back, a shot right to the face of Gemini Kid. Ortega back to his feet, and he is mad.
What a forearm by Ortega, the glazed over look in his teacher's eyes.
And I tell you what, right now, Gemini Kid probably has no clue where he's at. Ortega up and over a second time.
Series of leapfrogs. Gemini Kid runs right to the chop. Ortega, lateral press, not hooking the leg though. And Gemini, without the use of the ropes, finally kicks out.
So this is the first time we've had Gemini in the middle of the ring. Lude is going for the Fujiwara, back to the ropes.
What? Ortega can't get that Fujiwara on for more than probably a second and a half at a time.
Yeah, if he could work it up to a 4 and 5 second count there, he might do enough damage to make Gemini quit, but Gemini's got the ropes again.
Boy, Ortega is determined to get that Fujiwara on, and Gemini just used the ropes, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he just used the ropes and the leverage they gave him to take Ortega down.
He doesn't seem to be considering breaking this, even though the fans are on. Look at the fans are on Gemini Kid. I've never seen this look in his face in a ring before.
The fans are clearly behind Ortega at this point, and I think that's startling Gemini as much as anything else is.
Gemini Kid still twisting away on the ankle. It looks like he's going for a full figure 4 leg lock here, and Ortega's going to have to struggle to the ropes.
Yeah, Ortega's going to have to use the ropes to break this because the figure 4 is one of the most vicious submission moves in the entire history of professional wrestling, and very few men can apply the figure 4 like the Gemini Kid. But Ortega, without the ropes, rolls all the way through, reversing the pressure onto the knees of the Gemini Kid.
Yeah, Gemini Kid may have taught Ortega exactly how to reverse that well. He was paying attention that day because he just reversed it on his teacher.
Like I said, without the use of the ropes. Every submission Ortega's gotten on, Gemini has gone straight to the ropes. And look at this, even with the reverse figure 4, Gemini was still scurrying to the bottom rope.
I don't understand it. I mean, I've got to think, he's got to be sick, something's got to be wrong. This is not the Gemini Kid that I've watched since I've come to CWF Mid-Atlantic.
Ortega almost looking down at Gemini like, this isn't the man that trained me. The man that trained me would wrestle without ropes.
Right now, I bet Gemini wishes the ropes weren't in there, but oh goodness.
Big spinal tap by Ortega across his trainer, the man that taught him everything he knows. And look at this!
He's trying to take him apart. He's trying to take the arm off. Got him locked in the Fujiwara, but is he still too close to the rope?
Well, he's powered down on that Fujiwara, but Ortega trying to wrench the arm back, but Gemini Kid has his body turned just enough so Ortega can't get the pressure on, and once again, the bottom rope comes into play.
Now, we've always talked about how aggressive Jesse Ortega is. He's still showing the respect for his teacher. He had until legally a 4 count to keep that locked on Gemini, but it's every time the referee says break, Ortega just lets up.
Gemini scouted that European uppercut that was coming and snatches Ortega into a headlock center of the ring.
Looks like Gemini Kid trying to take control of this match again. I mean, this thing's going back and forth with no clear. But look at this, trying to soften him up for the Fujiwara, runs him right into the referee.
Yeah, that lucha roll smacked the official. Look at this, PhD Phoenix head driver by Ortega, has the leg hook, but the referee has got a boot straight across the back of the head.
We're up to about a 9 count at this point. Ortega he finally realizes the referee isn't coming. Now he's going to have to try to revive referee Brandon Barber over here.
Well, in the eyes of a lot of people, Jesse Ortega just won a second Weaver Cup, and Joey Sylvia, Ortega's second round opponent, is in the ring, still chained or breast knuckles or something, but regardless, he caught Ortega straight upside the head.
And look at this, Sylvia telling Gemini to get on him, and what's Gemini going to do?
Sylvia is handing the Weaver Cup to the Gemini Kid on a silver platter.
He's not inviting Gemini to join his new dynasty, is he?
No, he just wants Ortega to be humiliated. He wants to cost Ortega the Weaver Cup. He don't care who it's against. And Gemini Kid just smacked Joey Sylvia straight across the face.
Yeah, he just took the lunch home, Joey Sylvia. Even though Sylvia's got the chain, the referee finally back up to his feet. I guess the match continues.
Yeah, you can see that brass knuckles fly across the arena. And now Gemini Kid the same way. He defeated Mitch Connor. He's trying to hook Ortega in to the King Cobra.
Looks like he's about got him locked up. We're still close to the ropes. I'm not so sure Ortega's going to be able to get a hand out of that knot up there. And look at this. He's going to roll him over again.
Yeah, Ortega reverses out of the King Cobra. And now Ortega leaping all the way around. Fujiwara by Ortega. He could be winning the second consecutive Weaver Cup right here.
Things looking good for Jesse Ortega. Referee Brandon Barber is down. He's checking to see if Gemini wants to quit, but or at least I think he is. Gemini rolls over back into the ropes.
He rolled into the ropes, and the ropes springboarded him back right into the King Cobra again.
Oh my goodness, referee Brandon Barber's allowing this one to continue, even though both men have been into the ropes over the past few moments. Gemini Kid holding on for all he's worth.
Well, Ortega keeps reversing and reversing and reversing. Gemini Kid still holding on. Gemini Kid reaching back on the King Cobra. Hey, the feet are on there where Gemini Kid using the ropes for leverage.
Oh my goodness, the referee calls for the bell. This one's over.
Jesse Ortega just tapped out, but he tapped out because Gemini Kid had the King Cobra on and used the ropes to apply more pressure.
And this is unreal. He was in the King Cobra several occasions. This match was able to make his way out of it and survive the fight. But I tell you, unseen to the referee, and your 2006 Weaver Cup champion, Gemini Kid.
I never thought this match would end by a use of the bottom rope. Gemini Kid blatantly used the bottom rope. And what in the world is that idiot doing here? Solomon Spades staring at the winner of the Weaver Cup and the man that was just robbed of the second Weaver Cup.
I'll tell you what, Jesse Ortega still mad. He's demanding answers from Gemini. Gemini, he's just celebrating.
Gemini Kid celebrating a very disputed 2006 Weaver Cup win, but it's only comes to the bottom rope, and Jesse Ortega is incensed at his trainer.
I'll tell you what, he's got every right to be. Ortega, we've never seen him this fired up in the ring. He is irate. Gemini, I mean, he's not answering any questions. He's just telling him he's beat him.
The man that we know as Gemini Kid would have never, ever used the bottom rope. I can't believe Gemini did something like that. And now Kamakazi Kid trying to restrain his tag team partner, Ortega.
Gemini Kid standing tall. I mean, he's won this. This has lasted all summer. He made his way through it, won 2 matches tonight. As questionable as this final's been, I mean, he's your 2006 Weaver Cup champion.
But how can he accept a trophy? Gemini Kid has prided himself on being one of the great Mid-Atlantic wrestlers in modern day history, and to win the trophy that symbolizes great professional wrestling, he's going to use the bottom rope to do that?
Yeah, and now here he is. He's calling for Johnny Weaver to get up in the ring and present the trophy.
That's what that trophy is all about. You're disrespecting the Mid-Atlantic area. You're disrespecting Johnny Weaver and Dakota, the man that trained you. You're totally better than this. You want your trophy set out, here it is. But we ain't done yet. Me and you have to talk. I'm sorry. This is bullcrap. I don't know what this is, but you're a winner of the tournament. The Gemini Kid. Me and you have to have a talk about this. That's all right. You didn't know Gemini. For the 3rd year in a row, it's my pleasure to be here. Good to see all you fans out there. And I know a tournament's one of the hardest things you got to go through because you got to win every week or every match. And one loss and you're out. And you have won the trophy. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny Weaver. It is the greatest pleasure of my life. Right here tonight, I fought 5 hard matches to get here to the finals. And winning the Weaver Cup is my greatest accomplishment in my 20-year career to have this presented to you, present this trophy to me by you. Johnny, I can't thank you enough. This is for Johnny Weaver and all you fans. Thank you for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, while Gemini celebrates, let's give us one more round of applause for Johnny